Hello, and welcome to a short tutorial. It's been quite a long while since I came back on YouTube, but I'm back and let's jump into it. Today we're going to model a bottle, and the purpose of it is just to show a few techniques under SubD modeling to be able to come up with certain nice designs whenever you're creating a product or you're designing for a product. So to begin with, I'm going to add my reference image over here. So we come to add, I'm in the x-axis, come to add image reference. Under my downloads, there's a bottle that I downloaded. And so if you have a close look at this, you see these very nice patterns around the bottle and the shape. So it has multiple intricate designs that we can try and then model easily using SubD technique. So what I'm going to do is first, I always love to switch to the centimeters and scale my objects, but I want to first use a normal cube to be able to show the dimensions that I'm going to work with. The bottle is going to be about 26 centimeters in height, and diameter will be about 8 centimeters. So you can tell that this is a very huge image. But we're going to scale it up. Sorry, scale it down. Bring it down. And let me let the cube sit exactly on the grid plane. We normally do that by dividing the total height by 2. And then using that on your z-axis, you get it always to sit on the plane with the origin always in the middle. Yeah. So once we have this, let me switch over to moving this exactly to fit. So I'll switch on the wireframe mode and scale it so that it fits perfectly into the space. So yeah, we have it seated exactly. So I'll delete my cube and we'll begin the modeling process. So I love to start off with the cylinder, and we're going to work with 40 vertices, radius of 4 centimeters, which would equate to 8 centimeters in diameter, and we would have a height of 26 centimeters. And then, like previously, we'll make sure this sits exactly on the plane. So we have this. But to begin this modeling process, because of the nature of the rings, we want to start building from this zone, then we continue downwards and upwards using this very cylinder. So what we're going to do is we'll scale it, switch to edit mode, scale it down, bring it just about this, and move it into position. Okay, so I'm going to create an edge loop in the middle section over here. So with Control R, selected, move it all the way into position. Then I would scale inwards. Okay, so I'll select the top and then move it into place and move this also into place. Do not worry about the outer area not taking shape already. We'll fix that once we're done with the rings. So to begin with, I'm going to create another set of edge loops, and that's what we're going to use to form the shape that we have over here. So to do that, switch back into our edit mode. I want to switch to phases and select. So once that is done, we have our edge loop. And to get it out, to use to form the shape, I'm going to separate it from the cylinder objects. So with P, separate selection. So we have that. And what we have here is our ring. What I'll do is I would scale it slightly. Yeah, so once that is done, well, as you can tell, we have an edge loop around here. We do not want it. We want here all to be free of any, intersecting edges along the way, so that we use these ones to actually build our rings. So to do that, I'll switch over to my edges again. switch with Alt. Now I've selected all the edge loop, and to clear it off, I select X, and instead of delete edges, I'm going to say dissolve edges. So dissolve edges will take it out without much changing the shape of our flow of the cylinder or the topology. Now that we have this, what we will do is we're going to make this take the shape of the rings that we have on our image. So to do that, I will need my proportional editing. And what I will do is switch over to my vertices, proportional editing on. And what I'll do is I'll select. So the reason why everything is moving is because the size of the proportion is very huge. If you take a look at the top left side, you see 100 centimeters. So what I'll do is I'll reduce it. So as I keep reducing using the mouse wheel, now at about 8, I think I would do 6 centimeters, should be fine. 6.5 should be quite okay. I think this is a bit steep, so we'll bring it down slightly, and then we would move the origin. Nope, turn off my proportional editing, so we have this seated here. So we'll just adjust it slightly so that we have it, taking the shape a bit more. So what we'll do is, using scale, I would scale to the y-axis, give it a bit of a rounded nature. Because it's already centered, I do not want to move it left or right, or else it will not, be balanced. But we're trying to get it to, take the shape a bit more. So I would scale in the y-axis to bring it close enough to match our shape. We'll continue to do that. 0.7. We'll make it to 0.9. Okay, at least we'll get it close enough to that. So what I'll do is I'll duplicate along the z-axis, then SubD, and rotate along the x-axis and make it 120. And what we'll do is we'll move it into place, but you can tell these rings are not as steep as the ones at the top, so we'll scale it along the z-axis, bring them into position, and slightly, and move them in here. Okay, so if you take a close look, it goes around the bottle. So what we're going to do is we would select all of these. So now that we have this, how do we now take this shape to form the rings? And we're going to do that by using the knife project. So to do that, we select our cylinder, switch to phases, select all the phases. Now remember, we joined all of this as one object. So with my hand on control, select the rings, and all I'll do is go to mesh knife project. So what has happened is it's done halfway, but it didn't do the back. So we're going to repeat the process, switch to the back, and I'll turn off my X-ray mode so that I don't select the front phases again. And shift select my phases, then repeat the process, knife project. And now we have our rings. So what I'll do is I'll turn this off, and we have our rings. So how do we get it to, take the shape of the rings that we're going to have? So what we will do is in edit mode. Before I continue, let me first get rid of the phases at the top and bottom. On the later stage, it would make the shape funny if we don't take it out. So now that we have this in here, what I'll do is I'll select, switch to edge mode, shift select, then with my hand on shift and alt, I click and it selects the rings. So I'll continue to select all of them. I'll leave this one because this is the middle part. I could decide to add it, but I'll leave it out and just deal with the rings that we created. See? Okay. So now that we have this, I'll turn off my proportional editing. Sorry, it's on. And we'll switch back to our Z mode. So what I want to do is, first of all, my transformation orientation, I'll switch to normals and I'll select individual. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create edge loops around all of these rings that we've selected. So with my hand on Control-Shift-R, you're not able to see well, but when I go, I do negative 0.9, even them out, you now see that it's formed an edge loop all around it. So once this is done, at least it gives an equidistance. Make sure it's set at even. If it's not set at even, it doesn't create it well. So always make sure it's at even. You can decide to turn off these ones, and as you increase them, it increases the size of the edge loops. So I love to always keep it around 0.9, 0.95. Works for me. So I think I would go with 9.4 over here. So we have our rings in here. Then we're going to select once again the inner loops. Okay. So once we have this, we're going to switch to our X. And then we're going to scale. Now, remember, we turn this normal and individual origins so that when we scale it inside, it's not going to go or move towards the center of the objects, but rather it's going to stay individually of their origin. So to do that, what I'm going to first do is in my, okay, so what I'll do is hit S to scale. And you can see it's moving in slightly. So when I turn on my material view, you'll find the rings shape in there. So now that we have this in here, we're going to now build on the shape of the bottle. Select everything, extrude, Z, scale it in, extrude, Z, and scale it in. Okay. Then we'll do the same over here. Extrude Z, move it in. And we have it now. Shade smooth. And we'll make sure turn on photo smooth. So we have it here. So now that we have this here, let's just build on the top area first. Switch into our Extrude mode. Global. Then we switch to my X-axis. Extrude to the top. Then extrude scale. Right about here. Extrude to the Z. Slightly. Extrude scale inside. And extrude all the way. And let's just leave it right about here. So we have our shape. Now we'll come and work on the base. So with the base, what I will do is after I extrude, I would love to separate it and also create a shape over here. So with our edges, our vertices selected, we would extrude, come down using the Z-axis, scale it in a bit, extrude Z again, scale it even more. So we have our shape here. So at the bottom, we will scale, extrude, scale in. And normally these sides always goes in a bit, so we'll move it in slightly. And we'll leave this as it is. Now we're going to work on the bottom. So what I'll do is, to make it easier for all of us, I would separate the faces over here by selection. We'll later come and join them back up again. So once we have this, I will select my base and hide everything else. So to make this Coca-Cola shape, what normally I do is, because I selected the 4 phases, normally the Coca-Cola kind of shape, we have the 5 edges that we're going to work with. So switch over to our edges mode, Alt click, then we're going to count 7 rings apart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We'll select this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Select this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Select this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Select this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then we'll come back to our first selection. So now that we got this, what I'll do is I will remove the selections at the top. And all I will just do is Alt or Control, then select. So we have it only at our base. So now that we have this, we are going to scale it in. So we'll begin to get this shape. So let me switch over to my vertices mode and just deal with the inner, scale those ones in. Okay. Okay. Don't worry. It's from the star shape, but we'll be able to correct it. So what we'll do is so now that we have this, to make it slightly much more pronounced, select the vertices at the and we'll switch back to and scale that one also in slightly. Oh, okay, sorry. Switch to median. And it comes in. Sorry. For this to work, select the median so it takes all the shape. Yeah, so we have our shape. So if we add in our shade smooth and this, we get the shape. Now to straighten out the bottom area, select the rings, and we have the loop tools. You can enable it in your add-on section. What it does is it straightens it out for us. You can come over to our phases, add a grid fill, so that will make sure we get rid of all endpoints in the object. So we'll just turn on our proportional editing, just slightly go down. Okay, so we'll unhide everything. We have our shape. So what we do is we select our two, Control J to join them. Then the 2 areas where the vertices meet, we select all that and hit M. Merge by distance 0.01. So what will happen is we will have it all. If we select here, yeah, they are all merged now back again. So we have our shape in here quickly. Now we're going to add a bit more details and then begin to get the final shape of the bottle in its final stages. So we're going to switch over, and what we want to do is add in our subdivision surface. Give it some time. Let's move it to just 2. At least we begin to see that it's a bit much more cleaner on the surface a bit. So yeah, I could smoothen that up a bit, but we'll just leave it as it is, and we'll come over to our phases one more time. So whenever you see that your computer is running slow, you want to switch it off so you can get back the speed to be a bit more workable. So I'm going to create, like how we created the rings, we're going to create the same number of phases. So I think we'll do with 3, position them over here. Then we have our edge loops, Control-Shift-R, then like before 0.95, and then we would turn all the way in. So we have it at 0.821, and that should be okay. So what we do is we select our edge loops, the inner ones. Shift Alt, then go to individual, and we'll hit our mouse. So we have it slightly. So if we turn back our, so it takes on the shape a bit more better. So we're going to finalize the top part. And if you can realize, it's the flow isn't giving us a sharp crease at the edges. So to do that, we would have to add more edge loops. So I want to turn this on, make sure all these edge loops, make sure global, medium point, then add in my edge loops. Okay, so with these areas selected, I'll hit Control-Shift-R. So okay, so let me turn back on my SubDs. You realize now we have a very nice crease at the top here. So as we have this over here, we will turn over our, what we're going to create. Let me turn back off my, we're going to add in a circle. Let's make this one about 3 centimeters. Move it into position. And I'll make it slightly bigger, say about centimeters. Too big, 3.5 centimeters. It sits there. Normally, whenever I try to extrude from this point onwards, it kind of 4.0 crashes a lot on me. So I like to work with a new spherical shape. Then what I'll do is switch to my editing mode, then extrude to the Z-axis, extrude again, scale it in, with each edge loop in here, then scale that right back in again. And do it to about 0 or 0.1. It's okay. So I'll create another edge loop here so that it stays in here also. Another edge loop in here, so all the way down. So that will help me to create the rings also within the shape here. So what I'll do is I'll select Shift, Control, or Shift with the first selection done. I will do a Shift select. Then with my hand on Shift Control plus, I would make the selection according to the spaces that I give to each one. Again, Control Shift R, return slightly. Select again those rings once again. Shift select, then Shift Control plus. We'll go all the way around once again. And I'll scale it in a bit. And slightly. And like before, I'll shade smooth. Follow smooth. And subdivision. Get it. So with this done, we have our bottle in. But finally, as the last phase, I want to move this shape to take on a bit more of the actual bottle that we have in here. Here it becomes a bit more slender. The way we're going to do this is actually using the lattice method. So what we're going to do is create a lattice, then open the lattice data. We'll take the resolution to 1, move it all the way to 8 and 26, so that it takes on the actual shape of the bottle. Move it into place over here. And then with the W, we would scale it so that we get a number of edges. So what the lattice actually helps us to do is it helps us to deform our objects with a bit more control than normally using the vertices and the actual topology itself. So this will help guide us to be able to create that. So I think what I would do is I would lower this slightly. Sure, yes, I can play with this. Maybe add one more. I can play with these two so that we will have that shape. So now that we have this done, we will go to our modifier Deform, and then Lattice. Then we'll tell it to pick on the lattice that we have over here. So watch what happens when I now go into the lattice and then begin to edit. So select this like the normal way we will edit our edges. We'll scale it in, move it down a bit. So with this, we get much more control. So scale this. So what we'll do is remove this. And scale this in slightly. This, we have some level of deformity on our shape without actually ruining the full shape of our object. So once we have this, we can then select our lattice and apply. So I think we're pretty much done. We can delete the lattice and we can hide our bottle. Give it a materials. So let's give this one a blue bottle top. Blue bottle top. Saturation at 2. Stronger roughness at 1. Then with the bottle, we can have a glass material that downloaded from, or plastic material that I downloaded from the Blender kits. So let me quickly pick that up. Materials, and just this plastic shader. Material, that's a shader. So let's get, we can leave it as it is. We go ahead and then add in our own colors and everything, but this gives you the general shape of the button. So as always, thank you so much for staying with me until this very end of the video. So to actually round it all up, to create these rings using the knife project tool, we were able to get the deformities to show up, and also using the lattice, we could add in a bit more control in taking the shape of the button. So that's pretty much what we would end this video with. Thank you so much for staying along